One of the most asked questions whenever people come together, like this morning, many of us, if not all of us, have asked the question, how are you? Have you really given thought to that question and how you're going to answer it? I don't think they're interested in the status of our arthritis or our liver. Most people probably would thinking of the overall picture of where you are. Now, somebody asked me that question last week, and I realized it took me quite a few minutes to explain how I'm doing. And I want to make sure that he understood that I'm a very complex creature. And you are too. But play with it. I mean, it's amazing. Right now, part of my answer is, when Lena is doing better, I am doing better. I go up and down stairs less time. I fetch the water and breakfast less time. Warming up the leftover food that you brought. See, if you didn't bring those food, I would not have worked so hard warming them up. But it's appreciated so very, very much. But the question is, how are you? How well are you doing? And we're just passing. You notice that most of the time we don't even listen. We just say, how are you? How are you? How are you? So today, we're going to look at one of the most familiar stories. One of the most familiar stories, the crippled or paralyzed man. And there, I'm sure, many lessons in this story. But I gather a few thoughts and share with you again, and hopefully we learn something from it, especially that God would speak to some of us, if not all of us, from the story. The story, as you have read a few moments ago, Jesus coming to Jerusalem in one of the holy days of the Jews. As he entered the city, he came by the pool in Bethesda. And all the sick people were brought to this pool because they believed the angel of the Lord comes once a year and stir the water. And the first one who dipped into the pool after the angel stir the water will be healed. Now, we don't know whether that's true or not, that they'll be really healed if they get to the pool. But they believed that. And it was this setting where Jesus came to and noticed one particular man. He said that he's been sick for 38 years. That's a long time. When Jesus saw him and knew he'd been ill for a long time, he asked him, would you like to get well? Would you like to get well? Now, if I were to ask this question and we answer it true or false, all sick people want to get well. What would you say? True or false? How many of you would say true? All sick people want to get well. Okay? How many of you say false? Don't be afraid. Okay, good. We're thinking people. We also assume that just because somebody's sick that they want to get well. Now, I'm not talking about Lena now. Don't you make up any stories about Lena being sick. But think about it. Think about it. The man been sick 38 years. I would imagine, and this is my imagination running wild, after a while you get used to the surroundings. You kind of like some of the things in the area, in your situation. If you don't believe me, you go to the Halaba State Penitentiary or prison here. We used to go there a lot of times. I used to go there a lot of times. And let me tell you something. Those guys, some of those guys are having the best time of their lives. Laughing, cutting up, basketball, football, color TV. I mean, whatever they want, they got it. Do they want to go home? Well, we assume that they all want to go home. But do they? So we asked about this man, this sick man. Jesus asked the question, would you like to get well? Our subject is, you can get well. You can get well. That is, if you want to get well. But you see, I'm with the minority who say that not everybody wants to get well. And I'm thinking of myself more than anybody else. Growing up in the village, we go to the mountain every day to get something for the family. Coconut, taro, bananas, breadfruit. You get a little sick and you don't have to go to the mountain that day. What a blessing. What a blessing to be sick. But most people don't think those people are having or enjoying the reprieve here of being sick. So when Jesus asked the question, it's not as obvious as most people think. Because Jesus must have suspected that this guy is having a good time here. Listening to all the latest jokes, you know, the circle around the pool. And so he said, instead of curing the man immediately, automatically, he said, do you want to get well? The man said, I can't. I can't. Not that I don't want to or I want to, but I cannot. And his explanation for, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water bubbles up. But we propose this morning, as the scripture indicated, that you can get well if certain things are met. If you do certain things. We know that there are advantages in being sick. We know there's also disadvantages in being sick. But here is what we can do, or here is one way of getting well, even though you're sick. First, a person must know the truth about his motives, the motives of his heart. If you want to get well, it starts with knowing your own heart, whether you really desire wellness or not. John 5 and 6. Let's read that together. Ready? Begin. One of the men lying there had been sick for 38 years. When Jesus saw him and knew he had been ill for a long time, he asked ask him, would you like to get well?